Thanks for inviting me down. All right, I got to speak louder. I don't know what the hell I'm going to say. I just found out about, my boy Scott Horton just invited me down. I was just streaming at Moderate Rebels, interrupted the stream, and came down because I think it's so important to remind people about what it was like to be here, to be in the U.S. on 9/11/01, and how isolated those of us who were anti-war actually were at the time. What a terrifying atmosphere it was here, and how many millions have been killed because of the hypnotic spell and the media mass formation that prevented us from stopping these catastrophic wars, and we're still feeling the effect. What else? What other anniversaries? What else happened on 9/11? Well, the murder of Salvador Allende, a elected socialist president in Chile, murdered by a CIA plot under the watch of Henry Kissinger. Also on 9/11, the killing of Christopher Stevens. Who is Christopher Stevens? In Benghazi. He was at the U.S. consulate. He was the U.S. ambassador to Libya. And what was he doing at the U.S. consulate in Benghazi? Why was Christopher Stevens there? Hope you all can hear me still. He was there because after Gaddafi was murdered by another U.S. dirty war, very similar to what happened in Black September in Chile, he was organizing the shipment of the arms looted from the Libyan military's armed depots to the so-called moderate rebels, the CIA-backed mercenaries in Syria. That's why he was in Benghazi. He was working with the CIA-backed, Al-Qaeda-affiliated Libyan Islamic fighting group to organize shipments of weapons to Syria to launch another dirty war. This is the legacy of 9/11. It happened on 9/11. That story has been covered up. Let's remember what it was like after 9/11, on the day of 9/11, when the #1 drive time radio host, Howard Stern, was announcing it live and calling for chemical weapons attacks and nuclear attacks on the Middle East on primetime radio. He sounded like any of the crazy Bush neoconservatives, but this was our drive time host. Days later, Dan Rather, remember, the top broadcast media personality on the news every night, went on David Letterman and said, we need to take many casualties to fight a permanent war. We need to take out all these other countries that are involved. This isn't about fighting terror, it's about fighting an entire people who are evil. And Dan Rather even said, as Donald Trump later did, he told the big lie that Arabs in the United States were celebrating on rooftops, leading to the massive campaign of anti-Arab discrimination, of the murder of even Sikh people in the US for looking like Arabs, and of the campaign of Islamophobia and the targeting of Muslim American leadership. It was our mainstream broadcast personalities who brought us that campaign of hate and these permanent wars, and they were being directed by the Bush administration. We need to remember that people who are advising the Democrats today, people who are in the Democratic Party firmly embedded or who are celebrated on MSNBC, like William Kristol and Robert Kagan, had concocted a project for a new American century before 9/11 to lay out the plan to destroy not just Iraq, but Syria, and then to target Iran, a project of the United States today. We need to remember that these neoconservatives marched into the Pentagon and demanded, after Al-Qaeda attacked the U.S., that the U.S. take out 7 countries in 5 years, and that those countries have been taken out, down to Sudan, which was targeted in a color revolution last year and now has formal relations with Israel. Their plan has come to fruition. Millions have died. The Middle East is in a state of catastrophe, and yet people in the Middle East and people in the United States are still resisting. We saw people in the Gaza Strip stand up to Israeli terror this year with homemade weapons and deal a bloody nose to the US-backed Israeli apartheid regime. We see people in Yemen standing up against the US campaign of terror, defeating solidly, smashing in the face the largest importer of US weapons, the monarchic Saudi regime that was directly implicated in the 9/11 attacks. Directly implicated. We see people resisting in Lebanon. The wars are still continuing and people are still standing up. People are still standing up against the wars the dirty wars. People are standing up in Venezuela. Bolivia has reversed a coup. People are standing up in Nicaragua. And you all are standing up right here because we remember the lessons when even parts of the left fell down after 9/11. When Thomas Friedman, the liberal media, called for smashing a country in the Middle East just because we need to do that. And so we need to wake people up now because this is a new crisis is upon us. And the left is not only silent, large parts of the left are actually supportive of the official agenda. And we're talking about the new normal. The new normal where a new crisis is being exploited. A pandemic to massively expand presidential power. Anyone who watched Biden's speech 2 days ago should have been terrified by the mandates he's handing out. This is an expansion of the imperial presidency that liberals used to oppose. And so we see leftists who oppose segregation now supporting segregationist passports. We see liberals who claimed they supported civil rights now supporting massive crackdowns on civil liberties. We see liberals and leftists who say they're opposed to censorship now silent as YouTube censors any discussion of the new normal that's upon us. And we know this won't go well. We know this won't go well because of the lessons of 9/11, because our elites are always prepared to exploit any crisis. And if you know about the simulations that took place before the pandemic, it reminds me distinctly of the Project for a New American Century, the clean break document that the neocons conceived. They always have a plan. Where is our plan? Where is our plan to stand up for civil liberties? Where is our plan to oppose presidential power when a Democratic president is behaving more fascist than perhaps Donald Trump ever did? Where is our plan? Our plan starts today. And what we need to recognize with our plan is that people who have opposed these wars, people who are opposing this catastrophic new normal, have less in common, politically in many cases, than people who are hypnotized by the mainstream narrative. So you have libertarians, you have leftists, you have socialists, communists, anarchists, whoever. They may have less in common, but they get that something really wrong is happening. And what we need to do is unite against the common foe. Unite against the global predator class that is receiving new powers now. And we need to have unifying messages together. We can't be allowing ourselves to be divided when there are so many people hypnotized by this narrative and so many people in power who have unprecedented means at their disposal to crush us. So thank you for being out here today. Thank you for staying united. I really love the message, end the damn wars. That's all we need to say right now because the war has come home. This is a class war on the people here. So let's keep fighting. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.